Deep within the shadowy corners of the town stood house number 13, which had long been considered a cursed place. Legends about it spoke of strange sounds, flickering figures in the windows, and screams echoing through the night air. It frightened the locals, causing them to avoid it even during daylight hours. But for some curious souls, it was a challenge they couldn't ignore. Matt and Alice, a young couple, decided to investigate this legend. The rumors about house number 13 intrigued them, and they thought it would be an exciting adventure to explore the place. Disbelieving in curses and ghosts, they boldly set out, armed with flashlights and a camera. As soon as they crossed the threshold of the house, they felt that something was wrong. The door slammed shut behind them with a deafening sound, and they realized they were trapped inside. Their courage began to wane, replaced by anxiety and an ominous sense of threat. Exploring the house, they discovered that the gloomy walls indeed concealed many secrets. Old pieces of furniture were covered in dust, and bricks lay scattered on the floor. The air was filled with an indescribable smell of decay and horror. With each step, they delved deeper into an atmosphere of fear and darkness. They heard indistinct rustlings in the walls and mysterious sounds beckoning them closer. But they continued to move forward, their curiosity outweighing their fear. Suddenly, Alice felt something invisible touch her shoulder. She screamed, turning around, but no one was there. Matt tried to reassure her, but his own nerves began to shake with tension. They decided to check the basement, where, according to rumors, the heart of the curse lay. Every step down led them into darker and more sinister corners, where the darkness became thicker, and the silence so deep it seemed to possess its own essence. When they finally reached the bottom floor, they were met with a horrifying sight. The walls were covered in strange symbols, and in the center of the room stood an altar surrounded by candles. The ominous atmosphere was so thick they could barely breathe. Suddenly, the light in the room went out, and they found themselves in complete darkness. They heard whispers, their names spoken in the silence, and they felt something invisible surrounding them from all sides. Fear paralyzed them. They felt they couldn't move or even breathe. In that moment, they realized they had become part of the curse of house number 13, and their souls were trapped in eternal darkness. In the next moment, they felt the blade of a sword piercing their bodies, and their screams faded into the darkness. Their disappearance left no trace, and house number 13 remained a silent witness to their final terrifying journey. Deep in the forest, amidst the dense greenery and impenetrable darkness, stood the mysterious children's camp Shady Vale. It was located in a secluded corner of nature, where ordinary people dared not venture, and was considered an ideal place for summer vacations. However, behind this idyllic picture lurked dark and inexplicable phenomena that turned every day in the camp into a real nightmare. The summer of 1986 began normally for the Shady Vale camp, and at first there was no sign of trouble. However, with each passing day, something strange and inexplicable began to seep into the atmosphere of the camp. Children started reporting mysterious shadows, watching them from the depths of the forest, unusual sounds emanating from the night darkness, and a feeling of unease that never left them for a moment. The camp staff tried to convince themselves and the children that it was all just fantasies and imagination, but their own fears and inexplicable events turned every evening into a real nightmare. Night guards, sitting on watch in secluded corners of the camp, began to hear mysterious sounds and see unidentified shadows gliding between the trees. One day, in the middle of July, one of the children disappeared. Little Tommy, who was always a curious and cheerful child, suddenly vanished without a trace. A massive search began, and all camp participants collaborated to find the missing boy. However, despite all efforts, Tommy's body was never found, and he remained missing. Tommy's disappearance sparked even greater panic among the children and adults, and not a single day passed without new mysterious events and inexplicable phenomena. Children began to see strange shadows and hear mysterious whispers that seemed to be calling them deeper into the woods. One night, in the darkest and most gloomy hour, children and adults heard a terrible scream that pierced the night silence. They immediately rushed to help, heading towards the source of the sound. But what they discovered in the depths of the forest, amidst the dark trees and thick bushes, surpassed all their worst expectations. There, among the dark trees and dense shrubs, they saw a horrifying sight: the bodies of children turned to face the trees, with faces contorted in horror and skin as if dried up and devoid of life. It was a sight that none of them could forget, and it became a sinister specter haunting them in their dreams and waking hours. Fear gripped everyone present, and they realized that the Shady Vale camp was cursed, and the dark forces inhabiting this place were devouring the souls of their comrades. There was neither strength nor means of resistance, and that night the camp was engulfed in darkness, leaving only emptiness and despair in the hearts of the survivors. Now the Shady Vale camp became an abandoned place, doomed to oblivion, and only a few brave souls dared to explore its mysteries. But even those who boldly ventured into the dark depths of the forest, where the Camp Shady Vale once stood, risked becoming the next victims. The shadows enveloping this place hid their dark intentions, and only a few dared to explore them. With the passage of time, the legend of the cursed camp began to acquire new shades. It became part of folklore, warning those who were planning to explore uncharted territories. People stopped doubting the existence of the dark forces that inhabited the Shady Vale camp and began to avoid this place as if it were plagued by a disease. Years after the terrifying events, when no one believed in the existence of the Shady Vale camp anymore, strange disappearances began to occur in the vicinity. People vanished without a trace, and their bodies were never found. Skeptics dismissed it all as fiction and coincidence, but those who knew the history well felt that the spirits of the past had returned to continue their horrifying schemes. Anyone who dared to enter the dark depths of the forest where the Shady Vale camp once stood risked becoming the next victim. The shadows enveloping this place hid their dark intentions, and only a few dared to explore them. With the passage of time, the legend of the cursed camp began to acquire new shades. It became part of folklore, warning those who were planning to explore uncharted territories. People stopped doubting the existence of the dark forces that inhabited the Shady Vale camp and began to avoid this place as if it were plagued by a disease. Thus ended the story of the children's camp, consumed by darkness and evil, forever leaving traces of fear and horror in the hearts of those who dared to peek into its dark secrets. In the deep woods, amidst the dense greenery and shimmering sunlight, stood an ancient mansion shrouded in a mystical atmosphere and mysterious legends. This house, known as the Manor of Shadows, had been abandoned many years ago and became the object of interest for enthusiasts of the occult and explorers of paranormal phenomena. One summer evening, a group of adventurers consisting of 5 friends decided to explore the Manor of Shadows. They had heard many stories about strange occurrences happening in this house and were ready to uncover its mysteries. Leading the group was Jake, a brave and determined leader who had always dreamed of unraveling the mysteries of the paranormal world. His friends Emily, Tom, Liam, and Kate shared his passion and decided to join him in this dangerous adventure. As they approached the Manor of Shadows, the group felt a strange unease, as if the souls of long-departed residents of the house lingered in the air. But this did not deter them, and they decided to enter the house to unravel its secrets. Upon entering, they found themselves in dim corridors and dusty rooms where shadows danced on the walls. Their footsteps echoed as if the house was awakening from a long slumber. As they ventured deeper inside, strange events began to occur. Doors closed on their own, objects moved without any visible cause, and whispers and cries emanated from the darkness, as if the ghosts of the past were trying to convey their message. But Jake and his friends refused to let fear overcome them. They continued to explore every corner of the house, hoping to find answers to their questions. They set up cameras and recorded audio, hoping to capture paranormal activities. One day in the hall, they discovered an ancient diary belonging to the former owner of the Manor of Shadows. It contained records of strange phenomena occurring in the house and warnings about its danger. But when they tried to leave the house, they found the doors locked and the windows barred. Panic gripped the group, and they had to find another way out of this nightmare. With each passing hour, tension in the group grew. Their nerves were on edge, and fear made their hearts beat faster. They felt the mystical force of the house pulling them deeper into its embrace. Finally, when they reached the upper floor, they discovered a room adorned with symbols and terrifying drawings. In its center stood an altar, covered in blood, as if a sacrifice to dark forces. Jake and his friends realized they were trapped in a trap and that time was working against them. But they had to act quickly if they wanted to stay alive and escape from this cursed place. They began to explore the room, searching for a way out of the trap, but every corner of the house turned out to be locked or mysterious. Their efforts seemed futile, and fear gripped their hearts even tighter. Eventually, they discovered a secret passage leading to the underground of the house. But as they descended, they realized it was a mistake. In the basement of the house, they encountered something that exceeded their most terrifying nightmares. Quickly, they realized it was a trap, and the house was their prison. But understanding it was their last chance, they decided to fight to the end to escape this nightmare. With each step down, they faced new horrors, but they did not give up. Their will was strong, and they were ready to fight for their lives. Finally, they found the way out of the basement and emerged into the fresh air. They were exhausted and battered, but they were alive. Their experience was a nightmare, but it left a mark on them that would never fade. Returning to the town, Jake and his friends told the locals about their adventure. Their story caused shock and horror, but many did not believe them. Since then, the Manor of Shadows has become an even more mysterious place, a story passed down from generation to generation. But Jake and his friends knew they had experienced a real nightmare, one that would leave a mark on them forever.